Everybody, I'm Reggie from Ambrosia for Heads. I'm here with Pete Rock today to discuss the album Don't Smoke Rock, collaboration with Smoke DZA.
Yep.
Pete, congrats on the album, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you, boss. Very excited about this project. Smoke is really a great artist. He's like, reminds me of, a guy with a 70s soul, you know what I'm saying? Right. But we updating the sound to what everybody's doing today. And, the mixture just is explosive.
Yeah, that's dope. You can hear it. And the chemistry, it felt so right, too. Yeah. I know you guys have worked before, but it felt like you guys have been in unit,
yes.
unit for a long time.
It started from, working on the Funk Master Flex, app, and we did a song on there, and we just, talked, because we haven't seen each other before we did that in a while, because we used to hang out, back when he was much younger. And we just said, hey man, let's do an album, man. Let's follow up with this right here.
Yeah.
Flex really liked the song that we did for him, so I figured let's do an album together.
So you've done collabo albums, Smith & Wesson, Camp Low, Ed O.G., obviously CL.
Yeah.
How do you decide when you want to do an entire album with an artist instead of just like one track?
If basically if they let me, if they think it's a great idea for me to do the whole thing, and if taking on a job like that, I know I'll have to make every song different from each other because it's all coming from one person, production wise. So I just want to be versatile in the music, you know what I'm saying, and not just give people what they expect. Give them something dope, but just do it,
So how does that start? How does that happen from start to finish? Do you go in and say, look, I want to create this kind of sound, or what's the collaboration process like?
Well, when I'm making beats, I'm like, okay, I'm listening to something that I like and just saying, okay, I'm wondering how this one's going to sound or how it's going to come out. And sometimes I'll just gather up some sounds, some kicks, some snares and stuff like that, little percussion sounds and try to go in on something, and that's how basically some of the beats are made. So as far as like, coming up with the idea for a song, that's really basically up to an artist. But sometimes, I'm the beat maker, and sometimes I'll hear a hook in my head, after making a dope beat, you know what I'm saying? But, it's really the feel of the music that makes you, make something inside say, hey, this is, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. But does DZA, being the artist he is, bring out something different in you than, say like a Camp Low or something like that would?
Yeah, he does. Because I realize his generation, and I realize, what I can do to be relevant in that way, in his eyes, you know what I'm saying? And just giving him beats that he feels. Because, our opinions are really, they're kind of important, but depending on who it's coming from or who you want to actually take advice from, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like he melts with me very well, you know what I'm saying, when it comes to working on music.
So his lyrical content went to a different level on this album.
Yeah.
What about working with you inspired him?
I think basically my history and the music that he's enjoyed that I've done in the past, that's kind of made him a fan first, and then just us actually becoming friends and talking about music, saying, hey man, Then we ended up doing Achieve, a song called Achieve first. After the Funk Flex record, we did a song called Achieve for his mixtape or whatever. And then we started doing ideas for this Don't Smoke Rock thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So the guests on the album are really diverse.
Yeah.
Everyone from Mac Miller to Rick Ross.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it still sounds cohesive.
Mm-hmm.
How did you achieve that?
Knowing each background of every artist, every guest artist, like listening to the albums, saying, oh, this is what they're rapping to. This is what they're actually making and putting out, you know. And I have to follow along these guidelines somehow, some way, in a Pete Rock way, to where they could appreciate it even more. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
So how did you decide who you wanted on the project?
We actually, me and Smoke actually put our heads together for this one, you know, with the relationships I have and gained over the years. And, you know, in his relationships that he's had over the years, so we just put it together.
Mm-hmm. I know Harlem is obviously important to DZA, and Harlem is rep pretty well,
Mm-hmm.
you know, between Cam
Mm-hmm.
and Davies.
Mm-hmm.
What was the thinking behind that? Was he out to really rep Harlem, or was it just the respect for the craft for those guys, or how did those come about?
I mean, being from such a historical place in New York, you know, I could see how people would say things like that, you know what I mean? Yeah, Harlem kid, you know, Davies being from the east side of Harlem, it's just the aura of these guys, man, you know, of the history that took place there and what it spawned, you know what I'm saying? But then you have positives in music that you know, people discover their talent and do music. And you find out that, you know, what you do, you know, matches. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? With them. I've been to Harlem, I've been hanging out there for years, since I was like 13, 14 years old. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, I've grown to love that place. Yeah. You know, I'm from Mount Vernon, New York. You know,
not too far.
Yeah, it's not far at all. Yeah. So we used to either take the train or get in the whip and just drive to Harlem. We used to hang out on 125th, so it you know, it's black, you know what I'm saying, and it's historical, and we have a young generation there who loves, you know, great music. Yeah.
So speaking of black and whips, Rick Ross brought his A game on Black Superhero car.
I tell this story, and Smoke tells the story very well. Like, this guy, Rick Ross, like, I met him in Hawaii during a Kanye session. I was working with Kanye at the time. Such a cool dude, you know. And from then, you know, we talked about music, and then I asked him about Smoke DZA, and he was all for it. And he, you know, once I gave him the beat, and he heard the beat, he actually sent it right back with the vocals on it. Like, so that blew us away. Me and Smoke were looking at each other like, we got Rick Ross on the beat, on a Pete Rock beat. Yeah, it was crazy for us. Yeah,
So Ross, a high-profile guest, and I heard that there was supposed to be another one on Memphis, Nas. Yeah. You think maybe a remix might come into play?
I hope so. Nas, what up, bro? Need one of them golden purses from you, man.
Yeah, you know? Absolutely. Yeah. Hold the Drums, another amazing track. You know. What inspired that to do a track without a beat?
Playing around, you know what I mean? Like, I actually made the whole beat with drums. So the remix may be with the drums, but and I was making the beat and enjoying it with the drums, and you know, I was erasing something out the segment to see what it sounded like, and then I took the drums out and pressed play, and it's just like giving me that. Like,
those chords. Can you talk about those chords? Because they definitely brought something different out of Disney.
Yeah, the keyboard work. Shout out to my man Darryl Jones. You know, he did all the replay work on the album. You know, I actually gave him a guideline on what to do. You know what I'm saying? And he made it bigger. And you know, all the work that you listening to on doing Smoke Rock, and the beats were, I have to admit, we're on this plane, and then when Daru did the replay, it went up here. You know what I'm saying? So all the beats were made bigger.
So how do you decide between when you want to do a sample versus, a replay?
Well, I listen to a lot of music on vinyl, and I, get ideas and stuff like that, and give a musician an idea and say, hey, play this or play it like this or do that, for the replay, you know what I'm saying? Or, get a string section or use some strings here in this part. And that's how we do it. That's basically how I do it.
If you were going to do an all musician record, who would be your ideal lineup?
It would be different band members from different
any era
groups. It would be Questlove. It would be Chris Dave. It would be some of Robert Glasper's band members. Benjamin, guy that's nice on the keyboard. Derek Hodge, who's a bass player. So many great musicians.
We talked about Herbie Hancock too. You guys remember?
Okay, so you going
I'm saying like no limitation.
Okay, all right. So Herbie is definitely one musician that I would put in the Pete Rock pot.
Right.
And if you want to talk about hip hop bands, I would say Roots, of course.
Right.
Drumheads, my man Chris Dave and them. Daryl Jones, and his band. And then, I would throw in there like Rob Temperton, rest in peace.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I would throw
Michael Jackson.
I would throw in, who else? Do James Brown. But, these people aren't around, but I'm just, telling you what, it would be, have Barry White in there. Because, conductor, arranger, arranger is my him, Isaac Hayes.
Yeah.
What would that sound like? James Brown, Barry, Pete Rock, Barry White. I said Barry, Isaac, Pete, James, Roots, Herbie. Lord have mercy. Maybe I'm a little out there with it, but give me time. I think about more people to throw in the pot.
It's a lot of soul in that.
Yes.
So obviously you've inspired a lot of producers since you. Who inspired you on the production side?
Oh man, everyone, probably everyone, because I'm a great listener. My ears are still sharp. I listen to everybody, all producers. And when I see or hear a producer doing something dope, I'm listening. You know what I'm saying? I'm seeing what the crowd is saying. Yo, that's dope right there. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm really into that. Like, I don't pay attention to none of the opinionated people who get on IG angry. I talk about, I take different opinions from different people.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I like that because it keeps me sharp on my toes.
Yeah. Well, in addition to being a producer, obviously you're a great double threat, being on the mic too. You teased this man with just a few bars on One of One.
Yeah.
Were you ever tempted to really go in on a few more tracks?
Yeah, I'm gonna start writing again.
Yeah.
I've always said if I made, if I write rhymes like I make beats, you guys are in trouble out here. You know what I'm saying? But I admire Nas. Like he's like one of my favorite rappers.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And all of Wu-Tang, ODB, stands out. For me, not to but Ghost, Ray, everybody, Meth.
Yeah.
Shout out to GZA and shout out to you, God.
Obviously, you wrote a lot on your records with CL.
Mm-hmm.
You guys just came off a tour.
Mm-hmm.
You got more things in store with CL?
Yes.
Anything coming forward?
Yes. Well, shout out to CL Smooth, man. That's gonna be the clincher right there. That's gonna be the one.
Yeah.
That way, we just put our foot in the gravy and you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Make that thing pop.
Right.
So, and I'm happy and excited that he still has his mojo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So the chemistry's still there.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's gonna be dope.
Okay. You got a lot of the country represented on this album, between Dom on the West Coast, Royce in the Midwest, Crip from the South, Mac Miller. Was that purposeful? Were you guys conscious of that, or is it just how it worked out?
That's how it worked out when Pete Rock and Smoke DZA bang heads.
Right.
And he had relationships with like Big Crit and Dom, and my relationships with those other guys, you know, we just kind of just said, you know, and me and Royce been trying to work together for a while, but when he did Prime and Primo, you know what I'm saying, so, you know, I was enjoying that.
So this is the first time you and Royce worked together?
Yeah.
Oh, wow,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah. And then we also did a song, he jumped on a beat I did for my man Graf, and Royce, shout out to Royce the partner.
Were any of the artists in the studio with you, or were they all kind of remote?
Remote places, you know, being in their own sessions, but willing to, you know, pause there to say, hey, let me do this verse for this Smoke thing.
Yeah.
You know, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
You know, in my own sessions, I don't really do that.
Yeah.
Stop to do somebody else's stuff, but, you know, I appreciate, you know, the artists that took time out.
Right.
To want to be a part of this.
Yeah. Which feature verse surprised you the most? So it was different than what you expected to get.
Ross. Yeah.
How so?
It blew me away because of how fast he did it. And how fast he was just waiting, just like, you know, because, you know, I met him, you know what I'm saying, but when we talked that day, and then we, you know, would chit chat, text here and there. But, you know, it wasn't like always solid conversations face to face. Because he's a busy guy, you know, and I'm, you know, running around. But I have to say Rick Ross was the most shocking. And then, you know, probably Davies, you know what I'm saying? Well, I mean, not really shocking for Davies, but just happy I was able to, you know, get him on the song.
Yeah. Yeah.
And being that's a Harlem thing.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And Smoke helped out with that also.
Yeah. So what do you want people to remember about this album? What's the takeaway?
That is something that you could pop in on a long driving trip and not worry about skipping over any song. You know what I'm saying? Like, unless you have an actual favorite song, you can't. Like, there's like nothing else matters to you. You know what I'm saying? But it's a really great traveling album, and it's an inspiring album, and you can apply it to whatever it is you're doing in life.
Right. So speaking of traveling, you guys going on tour?
Yeah, we're gonna tour for this. We're gonna, you know, do great things with this. You know, and try to spread the love.
Where are some of the places you're looking forward to hitting?
Like I said, overseas, Japan, you know, Australia, hopefully Africa. You know, once I say Asia, I know we're gonna hit China and Korea and all that stuff.
Right.
So, also those places, but internationally.
Well, thank you, man.
My
Much
dude.
appreciate it.
God bless, brother.
Love the album.
Appreciate you,
Looking
man.
forward to what else is in the store.
Ambrosia.
Yeah. Thank you, man.
Yep. Thank you for the love.